So, and one of the least annoying things I can do, instead of just telling you what the Samsung S95D looks like, I'm going to actually be showing you. Now, I'm going to be going through a series of video games and things of that nature to show you how good it can be over multiple videos. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely subscribe, because you're about to see how good this TV can be. It's easy to forget that when we talk about what's bad about it, so let's talk about what's actually good, and I'm going to show you in a different way. People like to cut together a lot of B-roll footage and things like that. This is going to be a live, organic take on what it's like, and I'm going to be playing games I've never played before on this TV so you can see my raw, genuine reaction. So we're going to start first with the Asura's Wrath. Now, I've beaten this game, however, I have never seen it on this particular TV right here, which is the Samsung S95D. Now, I'm going to go back to the very first episode, and we're just going to start it like so. Now, the reason I use the first episode is because when I first played this game, this was the one that was the most mesmerizing. It was the one that, honestly, like, when I first seen it, I was like, what the hell is all of this epicness? And, I mean, really, I wouldn't have thought about something like, you know, Asura's Wrath. I mean, like, what the hell is that game? So, it's definitely something I think is going to be very interesting. Now, unfortunately for me, I can't remove the music portion, which is irritating, so hopefully we don't get hit with the copyright here, because Lord knows that's all these companies like to do these days, is find the music and be like, oh, I see it here, you've got the music from our game, so your whole video is demonetized or blocked worldwide. And if that happens, I'm sorry, but I will do my best to try to showcase as much as I can. I mean, if I have to down the line in the series, we might have to do some of these videos on mute, which would suck, but at least it would be like for a visual representation. I'll go ahead and try to lower the audio just a bit so we can avoid that, because I'm not joking. The copyright thing on YouTube is a really big aggravation and irritation. It's kind of like what they exclusively do to like all of us. So again, I want you to pay attention to the colors and everything. I mean, it just looks good. Right now, I can't lie, like, as I'm looking at, like, the graphics themselves, I mean, it's, like, not that great. Like, because the thing is, Samsung says, like, upscale everything to 4K, no matter what it is, because of AI. And I've not yet seen that. I don't know what they need to do differently from a formula perspective, but I don't think I have ever actually seen them upscale anything to 4K, at least not on this particular television. The Samsung S90D, I have seen it, but the S95, I have not seen it. Everything kind of looks the same. And that's just honest. I mean, people will try to say whatever, but I mean, that's them. Alright, so let's try to get cooking in here and see what we can do. So, the first thing I notice is that from a visual perspective, I mean, colors are vibrant, obviously. I mean, it's the Samsung S95D, hello. But it's not really, like, three-dimensionally sharp, is what I would say, like, on an older game like this. And this is where I particularly would look for something like the upscaling to kick in and to do its magic, right? And to say, okay, it's an older game, now I'm gonna make it look freaking amazing, and I don't know, not at all. It's not happening the way I would have, like, when I read upscale everything into 4K, immediately I was like, all right, I've got to run out, I got to buy this TV, this is gonna be it. I mean, they have AI-based algorithms, surely that's gonna be what does it. Nope, those AI-based algorithms did not save us at all, so here we are, you know. I mean, the colors, again, are very vibrant, and you can kind of see that. It's very bright. But I mean, I know this is going to be like a beating a dead horse. That matte finish screen kind of vexes the hell out of me, because what it robs from the picture is a lot. Like, it does rob a lot. Now, in this scene, it looks really nice. Like, this, the colors in this scene look good. Again, beautiful, brilliant highlights kicking off. I mean, and again, it could also be like we just need to use something a little newer too, but I wanted to start with something older so that we can test the upscaling, the AI upscaling particularly, and how they say upscale everything to 4K. I'm telling you guys, like, I'm not feeling the upscaling effect at all. It literally looks the same as it did on my S95B, but like a little blurrier because of their little filter here, like text. If you're somebody that's a stickler for subtitles, like now in the game there's subtitles, you're going to notice that the text is just not going to be as clear as it would have been on the S90D or S95B or even the LG G4, C4. It's the clarity part that does go missing for certain things. Not all things. There are moments where it can be exceptionally clear, but again, just letting you know where you're going to take your compromises at. Colors are brilliant though. As I look at it, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the highlights are kicking off very nicely though. I wish there was more depth in this scene though, as she's doing her little, I don't know, spirit thing. I honestly don't know. Now that highlight that just came in there, that was amazing on this guy right here. Freaking dope. That was pretty awesome. And all the colors, like the cyans and the greens right now kicking off, beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. And I have no problem whatsoever with anything I'm seeing. And that highlight coming in over the planet, over the top, right over here. Ooh, that looks so nice. Like, it's like grabbing the hell out of my eye. And so like that's, I think honestly, that's where like I would call the S95D like a bittersweet, because on the one hand, there are things I just don't like about it. I mean, hello, matte finish screen, I won't shut up about it. But then on the other hand, there are some absolutely, truly magnificently wonderful things, like, you know, the highlights on certain small highlights that really grab your eye like literally no other TV right now can from an OLED perspective. There just isn't an OLED as bright as the S95D. And if anyone is not willing to tell you that, I will tell you this is the world's brightest OLED right now. People will try to say it's the G4, but the G4 is not the brightest OLED, and it's a WOLED, so the brighter it gets, the more color you lose. It's just not worth it, right? Now again, I'm not here to make anyone feel bad about their purchase. I'm just telling you differences as differences exist, and the QD OLED benefit is there for sure. Like in this scene, like all the red kicking off of this monster and like every little subtle highlight right now is like really impressive on this guy. It's just like very cinematic and the best possible way. Like it's like modern cinematic, not like old world 100 nits cinematic, but look at like that was crazy. So as I'm going through these cinematic sequences, I'm looking at color, I'm looking at brightness, I'm looking at highlights, and not just like the tiny ones. I'm looking at how well highlights affect even like the darkest portion of the screen. I mean, it's self-emissive, yes, but sometimes it doesn't always look great because sometimes there are lifted blacks or crushed blacks or whatever the case may be, and this is a pretty damn decent balance. And looking at them go through and do all this, like, it's really good. I would want a little bit more sharpness around like the smallest practical lights, but that's just me. But even looking at that, that's pretty good though. So let's see what this next sequence is going to bring us. I know we're going to be blasting a lot of random things, but it is what it is. That's like our ship. Why are we blasting our own ship? It's kind of pointless. Now, for those who are wondering what system I'm playing this on, I am playing this on the Xbox Series X. So if there was any kind of upscaling from the console and from the TV, this is pretty much how you would get it, outside of going to obviously PC, where the game would look ridiculously great. But that's an unfair comparison when we're trying to do upscaling, so which is why I'm doing it this way. I mean, just look at him laying the hands on this little rock thing here. It's pretty badass. Now, as those orange colors come through, they're really good and they leave very little to be desired. Same goes for all the highlights. The blue is just absolutely amazing. And again, it goes back to like when you get to like things that have kind of like a stylistic look like this, how in certain examples are supposed to be more like of a hazy, like kind of like dreamy look like now. It doesn't really look that good on the S95D because it kind of has a hazy look already to some things like this. It makes it just more hazy and it makes it look like there's like frost or fog on your screen and you want to wipe your screen so you get that clarity back, but it just never could happen that way. But I don't know what to tell you guys. Not with that. Like, see now, like screens, how they're supposed to be a little bit hazy so that you get that effect, but it just doesn't look very good. Like this whole general scene now is pretty flat, where each light is supposed to be like a defined square, very succinct, very, you know, very bright on their own. It doesn't happen like that. I think they put too much emphasis on global brightness, and I think that's really holding it back. But like now in scenes like this, you'll get the depth back on the character and things like their face and things like that. But this TV makes you have to throw away a lot of the brightness too if you want depth. And I think one thing I would really appreciate is if they could make an update, for, let's say, for this TV, where instead of targeting everything that's bright on the screen, why not make sure you give brightness where it needs to be and it's proportional? It's not overzealous. Like, again, I don't need brightness in my shadows, but I feel like what the algorithm does is it reads, oh, this is a bright portion, and it adds a little bit extra, but that's not what's supposed to happen. I think, honestly, if it's not like, I'm going to go a little nerdy on you guys here. If it's not like 100% IRE, which is just 100% white, then it has no business being overly bright. I think you can have something 100% IRE, get the majority of the peak nits. I think that would be the correct way to do it. And everything else, I mean, like, don't go overzealous with the brightness, because then you have stuff like this happen, like where this thing looks good but not as amazing as it would look. You're supposed to have like really deep black, and it just doesn't happen because those colors are really bright. Don't get me wrong, the colors are beautiful, but this isn't looking like a crystal, like that, like just you're looking straight through it into another world kind of feel. It doesn't have that, and I think that's going to be where ultimately with older games like this, you're going to be like, I don't know about that. Now again, as I'm looking at this scene, now that there's more black on the image, now it looks immaculate and amazing. And I don't like that. I don't like that when there are more brightness levels than, you know, the black levels. You're going to run into these issues. It looks good here, but the brightness, again, anywhere there's supposed to be brightness, that's where they're doing too much. See, like this right now looks amazing. But I feel like also because everybody always complains OLED has black crush, Samsung this year has gone in and tried to lift the shadows, but way too much, to a point where the shadows just look overly lifted. Now, I don't know if YouTube's going to show this on camera, by the way, but like this looks amazing, but it's mostly bright, as you see. Like all the elements are mostly bright, so this is incredible. But again, it's kind of pointless when you have, like, again, it has to be mostly black or mostly dark on the screen, but when there's brightness, that's when things get a little off. I don't really like that. So again, I know that's like me just griping about it, but I'm watching this real time, giving my genuine opinions and thoughts on what the TV is doing. Right now, it's doing magic, by the way. This whole sequence is absolutely phenomenal. We are closer to near black or 5% black. I would say anywhere from 5 to 30% black is where we are right now, and it's not lifting above that, so the colors pop harder, the brightness pops harder. When we were getting out of those sequences, like now, it looks incredible. And I think that's really kind of it, right? That's kind of what it does. Now, as I'm looking again at the color orange, I genuinely do feel like that is the color fire would be. I do feel like the rocks could be a little darker, though. A little bit more depth wouldn't hurt them. All right, now let's see. What does this sequence bring to us? I would like the reds to be a little bit more pronounced. Blues are gorgeous. And again, as they're just zipping around and everything, you can kind of see a lot of what I'm talking about too. Like as he's charging up, you see every little particle, so that's good. I think that's one of the benefits of the brightness, or the added brightness. The red looks decent. The rays of light kicking off are very bright now. Very good. Ships blowing up. I would give it a pass. This is in the middle. It's not bad and it's not good. It's in the middle. It's acceptable, I'd say. But this sequence right here, that is exceptional. I mean, look at that. Just getting blown up. It's beautiful. Anytime you have these outer space scenes where you see like deep black above anything else, and then there are bright colors like now, look at that. That's crazy. Like the character's face, absolutely immaculate. And that's where I feel like this is kind of a bipolar TV. if I could really kind of put a word to it, bipolar, like the particles, all the green particles coming out, they shimmer, they glisten. You see every shade of green, every little color of green, which is amazing. Now they're falling. You see all the highlights on his arms, the little cyan highlights wrapped in the white. Like the artistic style that they use is really good. You just have to have a TV that can show it. And this one can show it on a bipolar level, I feel. Now looking at all of the transformation arms that are coming out of this guy right now, it looks pretty good. Strong highlights, decent separation from the background, but again, now it's kind of hazy. Now it's dark again and rich. And I think the most important thing about this too is identifying where in your game it's going to shift and it's going to be different. See, like now it looks good, but again, it's when you get to those shadows that things get a little hazy. And that's the part I really can't stand, because I want consistency and I'm just not getting it here. So when we look in this sequence, tons of highlights, there's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to follow and to analyze, but as I look at it, I do see now the highlights are just incredible. I mean, but that's kind of the general theme through the whole experience. The highlights are, I mean, and that's the thing too, right? That's why I bought the Samsung S95D, is because it is the world's brightest OLED. And I mean, come on, we've been wanting LED brightness on an OLED for a very long time. And the anti-glare screen, it does not defeat all reflections. If you're going for that, like I was kind of hoping it would do, if I was going to sacrifice clarity for a matte finish screen, I would have wanted like no reflections whatsoever. It doesn't happen like that. But what they do give you is greatly reduced reflections like any matte screen would give you, which, yeah, that's great and all. But it does have a little bit of a negative effect, is when light hits it, the light does disperse and scatter across the panel because it's a matte finish screen. And the matte finish screen does tend to take on the characteristics of the light source that you're using. For example, if it's sunlight hitting, you're going to have more of a yellowish hue to your screen. If it's a blue light from your room or something like that, you're going to have more of a blue light on your TV, and it casts that way. And that's the one thing I can't stand about this TV. I know a lot of people complain about the S90D and other OLEDs having more of a pinkish, purplish hue to it. I would much rather that than something that, again, is bipolar in it and there's mixed lighting all the time. That also affects the colors on your screen. See, like right now I don't have a window open because I can't stand the way sunlight looks on this screen, how it makes it just look ashy. I mean, that's really the word I would use to describe it, right? It just makes it look ashy. But again, in a dark room, it looks decent, you know? And again, colors, that's why we buy a QD OLED. And it's giving you all the colors that you could want, you could need. And the sharpness behind it, I mean, it's okay, but it's not like the best. Now again, we are testing the 4K AI upscaling that they brought this year, because Samsung was bold enough to make the claim that we're going to be upscaling everything into 4K. And I can tell you, like, from what we were expecting that to mean, it doesn't give you that impact. I feel like this is every bit as the resolution that the Xbox is outputting. However, it's not giving you any extra texture or clarity benefits at all. And an emphasis on no extra 4K texture benefits at all. It does not. I mean, like, you would expect AI algorithm for it to do kind of like more of an editorial thing with its approach, but that's just not happening here. And instead, you're getting kind of, again, more of the vanilla day one cookie cutter kind of look that the Xbox would give you on a game like this, where they just gave back compat support. And again, one of the downsides of this video as well is that my camera happens to be extremely exceptional, so you are seeing a lot more detail. Like, I look on the camera and it looks like stellar, but I look at it with my eyes and it doesn't look anything near as dark as that. I also see more colors in the background than what you guys are seeing on camera too. So that's also going to be one of those problems when you watch these comparisons. Like, your dynamic range is always going to be the issue with trying to capture that, the greatest distance between the darkest black and the brightest white. That's going to be very difficult to capture. I think the big thing you could take away though are the color differences, and you can see some of the color differences like now. I mean, and the brightness. you can make out a pretty identical thing when the scene is bright like this, but if it's a dark scene with a lot of contrast, it's going to be very difficult to ascertain what's actually going on the screen. But I mean, looking at it though, it's not so far off where it's like, oh my god, it's just like day and night difference. No, there's just a difference. Like, the clarity is definitely higher on the camera because I'm using top of the line glass, right? And translation, my lens for my camera, the highest quality I could possibly buy. That kind of leads to a lot of this as well, looking a lot sharper and a lot better than what the TV is able to do on a matte finished screen. And that should be also, again, translated and communicated. But I think as far as like a first look kind of thing as to like the quality of this, I don't think it's so bad. I think it's good and everything, but I think it could also be better. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm going to stop at this one episode since we're like 20 minutes in and I don't want a monster of a video, but this will give you guys, again, as an opening, a good idea as to what you can expect from the Samsung S95D. And again, cutscenes like this where you have a lot of like comic looking text, that's going to look good because you got the bright areas looking really good. Dark areas are dark, but again, in this ship area where it's supposed to be bright, it is rather hazy. And again, it's hazy in between all these little colors here and things like that. That's where I'm noticing it's losing. It's losing when it intersects dark and bright and they try to meld them together. That's where this TV is failing. See, each one of these practical lights should be pumping out its own brightness independent from the subpixel of the dark, but it doesn't happen that way. They almost blend together and it doesn't really work as well. And I know that's like kind of contradictory to what OLED does, but I'm telling you how this TV performs. It's definitely a software issue and I feel like it can be fixed, but I mean, Samsung never listens to me. I think unless Vincent Tio or Digital Trend says it, every issue that any other YouTuber can find, even regardless of myself, will be absolutely ignored. And even sometimes they get ignored. So it's kind of hard with these things because it's like, what really do you do when you have a bunch of companies that don't listen at all to what their feedback is? Because frankly, people defend them and so they don't have to listen. But either way, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.